Hello, and welcome to the preparation training for our online Data Quality Control Day, otherwise known as QC Day. I'm Jennifer Stafford, the Director in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support, and with me today is Helen Jones, our Branch Manager in our same division. We welcome you to this preparation video because we will discuss the preparation for online Quality Control Day. We're going to give you an overview of the purpose and some of the cautions around the Quality Control Day data. We're going to give you some tentative reporting timelines, as well as those preliminary cautions and that what embargo status means and when it will tentatively happen. And then Helen's going to close us out today with Quality Control Day materials, as well as processes that you as the District Assessment Coordinator will complete on Quality Control Day. So let's get started. Let's talk about the overview for the day. The purpose of Quality Control Day is to get to the most accurate reporting that we can possibly get to at this point. The process started back in the spring with getting the rosters right and included a data review period in the fall. Now, those two processes were about individual student changes. This Quality Control Day is about big systematic issues that impact multiple schools or multiple districts. So we want to look at the data. It will be very important for you to review that, and you're going to get lots of data. But the purpose of the review is about the accountability data. Now, we're a little bit out of sync with our normal processes of delivering the assessment data to our districts. Generally, we try to share assessment data during that fall data review period. Due to the summer activities and all of the standard setting around the new assessments that were given in the spring of 2022, we took a lot of caution and a lot of diligent work to ensure that those standards, those student performance standards of novice, apprentice, proficient, and distinguished were accurate and have been applied appropriately to the data that you are going to receive. So during the Quality Control Day, you will receive both assessment data for the Kentucky Summative Assessment and the alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment, as well as accountability data. Now, this Quality Control Day is about the review of the accountability data. Those data will go public, and those data are around the ratings for our indicators from very low to very high, as well as that overall rating of the colors from red to blue. So the review we're going to focus you in on is around those accountability data, as well as those federal classifications of comprehensive school and improvement, targeted support and improvement, as well as additional targeted and support improvement schools. So changes, again, to those individual student data happened previously. This is another opportunity to just review the system as a whole. There will be one additional time period to update any specific student data, and that will be what we call a 10-day regulatory review period after public release. So it's written in state statute that individual changes can be made once we go into public reporting and have released that. So there will be one more opportunity to change individual student data after public release. So again, we're going to review all this accountability data, focus you in on that, as well as looking at some other resources today. So we want to give you the opportunity to review, especially your student demographic groups and those groups that meet that minimum N of 30 for the school by those indicators, because those minimum in those individual student groups for accountability are used to identify federal classification. So those minimum groups are going to be one of the focus of the day, so that we want to ensure that you have the appropriate groups, as well as if they seem reasonable for what you have identified for your student demographics. Now, the timeline for reporting is all tentative. At this point, we are releasing this training in preparation for the online quality control day. We have completed at this point the accountability standard setting. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, September 13th and 14th, the standard setting for those accountability ratings happened. There were multiple assessment leaders or education leaders that came together across 2 days to discuss those cut scores of what makes the indicator in a school within that indicator, those different ratings from very low to very high, as well as the overall. Now, those recommendations are being taken to both the commissioner as well as the local superintendent advisory council. Now, that local superintendent advisory council is scheduled for Monday, September 19th. So that's a very important meeting to review those recommendations as well as approve any cuts that will then be applied to the accountability data, so that you can see those hopefully on September 22nd during QC Day. If something happens within that process, then we'll need to communicate that to you through special emails. So be on the lookout for any special DAC emails that may impact or announce Quality Control Day on the 22nd. So after the 22nd, then we will, after that Quality Control Day, we'll take those data, correct any systematic issues that may have been found during that day, and then go into public reporting. So then the next time that you see final data that will be reported publicly will tentatively be on October 13th. That's when the data that will go public will be provided to district assessment coordinators. That same data then will be open to media on October 14th. So the districts will get an opportunity to see it almost a full day before the media gets to review it. And then October 17th, the commissioner, Dr. Glass, is going to have a press conference that media can come into or be a part of, and about his thoughts about the data. So that's October 17th, with the intention that the school report card opens publicly then on October 18th, and that will have both the accountability as well as the assessment results in that. After the public release, tentatively on the 18th, and that kicks in that 10-day regulatory review, again, where individual student changes can be requested. Now let's talk about what types of data that you will receive and when. So the quality control day, when we have that, those are preliminary data. We're asking district assessment coordinators to review it so that if there are any errors in that data, then those can be corrected. During that day, DACs will be reviewing the data. They will be completing a checklist to identify any big systematic issues, and our data team will be reviewing and analyzing those discrepancy reports to see if there are any issues. And if those issues are found, it could impact the data that you have in front of you on quality control day. So if there are issues found, then the data may change. And so we really want to caution you as a district assessment coordinator that the data that you get on quality control day has a possibility that it could change. So you want to be very cautious about thinking that it's final, and you want to be able to maintain the security of that data with a limited number of people. We caution about making copies or printing out anything, because those, they live, and they can be confused with when you get the final data. Because if you have two printouts of spreadsheets, one from quality control day and one from the embargoed data that will go public, and they're different, then you may get confused about that. So we just caution about making copies and being very cautious about understanding that the data may change. So during that day on quality control day, you will be able to download spreadsheets. And Helen's going to talk with you about all the different spreadsheets that we're going to ask you to review. You may invoke someone in your district to help you if you have an assistant superintendent or a superintendent or a lead building assessment coordinator who would want to help you review that. You are welcome to get assistance on this very important task. So again, the data is not final during the quality control day. When we get to the tentative date of October 13th, that's what starts what we call the embargo period. That is the final data. When we get to October 13th, tentatively, then you may then begin talking more broadly about the data that's coming. But we caution that that's not public yet. This opportunity gives you some time to talk with leaders in your district about what's going to be made public. So, when do you want to share what data with who and when? So, on quality control day, you're going to get, again, assessment data as well as accountability data. That assessment data are the scores that the students receive. The scores in reading, the scores in math, the scores in science, the social studies scores. All of those are assessment scores, those individual student data that is likely to not change. Now, those will be important for our teachers to have, and those teachers that have an educational interest in that direct connection with the students, that they can make informed decisions. So this summative assessment, along with their interim or formative assessments that they give in the classroom, is very important to make curricular decisions and instructional decisions with. So that data can be shared appropriately following all of those FERPA guidelines that teachers can use for classroom instruction, can be shared with your teachers. Now, individual students will get reports later, and they will have individual student reports for the Kentucky Summative Assessment and alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment later in October. And those are paper individuals. Those will go to parents. So we'll have those to parents, to you and to parents later in October. But the individual student data you will receive is likely to not change because those standard settings were completed during the summer and not likely to change. The school data that you receive on quality control day, that's preliminary data. And again, the purpose of Quality Control Day is to look for those big systematic issues that could impact that summary data. So during the Quality Control Day, you want to limit the number of people who have access to that summary data around those ratings of very low to very high, and those indicator ratings, and then that overall. So that's accountability data, and that's what could change as a result of Quality Control Day. Now, the department has asked district assessment coordinators to sign a non-disclosure for the Quality Control Day, and those are to be uploaded into a Google form, and that needs to take place by the day before Quality Control Day. So at this point, it is September 21st is the deadline for taking care of that. And you can complete that now. And Helen's going to have more information about you submitting that non-disclosure form. But if you share it, the accountability data, with anybody at your local level, then you, as the district assessment coordinator, want them to sign a non-disclosure form, and you will keep that non-disclosure form for the people that you share the data with there locally. Now, what we talk about next is the embargoed period. That embargo period at this point, again, starts tentatively on October 13th. And will last until the school report card is open. And that's tentatively scheduled for October 18th at this point. So again, that's aggregated school district data. And at that point, during the embargo period, you will see state data. State data is not shared during Quality Control Day, but it will be shared during that embargo period. So you can discuss then internally, not in public meetings, the aggregate data around your schools, district, and the state internally during that embargo period. At that point, you may also begin to speak with your local media. If you have reporters that are doing a story, you may want to talk with them privately. If you have local boards of education, they may also be interested in the accountability data. You may speak individually with them, but no public meetings during that embargo period. Again, if you then share that data with them, you'll want a non-disclosure as well signed. And again, those are kept locally at your local level. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Helen to close us out and provide a lot of direction on the materials and the procedures and resources that will assist you to complete the Quality Control Day. Helen, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the reminders of For the remainder of this time, I want to discuss information that you will be needing and will be shared with you for QC Day. You will receive a number of electronic folders, which will contain your district and school data. For instance, you're going to get, and all of this information will be housed in the KDE Secure Web application. You'll have a number of summary files and spreadsheet, and they'll be organized under student detail, data detail. You will need your to access it using the SD 2020 and your district number, so you would use that to access the information. You'll also receive information with the SDRR files, which can be downloaded prior to your September 20, the QC day. You will also, within the SDRR, you will have the student listing, any changes that took place as a result of your tickets you may have submitted, as well as cohort post-secondary readiness scores will be there. And also, you will also have to complete a online quality control checklist. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the process, but in order to actually review any of the data, you will have to actually complete that quality control checklist, as well as a data discrepancy report. And that report will be used if you found any big systemic issues that you need to report during that time. So let's talk about QC days and the spreadsheets that will be housed electronically in that secure KDE web app. So let's take a look at the actual information that you will receive and need for a successful QC day. So as I stated before, you will receive all of this information in the KDE Secure Web app. So the folders you will need for QC Day, you will get a number of folders. One will be titled Accountability, Student Data, Assessed, Calculator, English Language Proficiency, Graduation, and Quality of School Climate and Safety. As you will see, there's an arrow here pointing to the folders that you really need to focus on. The accountability folder, there are going to be 3 subfolders within this. These are all going to be electronic. So there's going to be a subfolder, electronics folder named Summary, NAPD by grade, and by NAPD by level. So in the accountability folder, the ones that we need you to focus on for QC Day is the Summary folder, as well as the NAPD by level. Under the student data, there is the graduates as well as post-secondary readiness, because that's going to be important for your review, as well as the test. So that will contain, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail about what information specifically you need to focus on in those particular folders. The remainder of the folders and the remainder of the subfolders that you will find is just for informational purposes only. This is in case you want to take a more of a granular look at that information, but you will not necessarily need to focus your attention on QC Day for those other folders. So we've tried to separate that out for you here. So let's take a look at what you will see in the first folder, that summary folder. This spreadsheet will contain all of your aggregate data into 8 worksheets. And those tabs will be along the bottom of this accountability summary folder. You'll see the first tab will have profile. And that is your in that profile tab will have your overall indicator scores and ratings. TSI group. There's another tab for TSI group. Then there are some additional tabs that you will see. All of your indicators will be at the very bottom of this particular accountability summary spreadsheet. So you'll have your state assessment results in reading and math, your state assessment results in science, social studies, and writing, your English learner proficiency, as well as quality of school climate and safety, post-secondary readiness, and graduation rate. This folder contains everything that will contribute to the school and district accountability. This includes your scores, your label, your indicators, your overall performance scores rating, and your color. So this is where you will start to see what the color rating is, as well as those federal classification. So now let's take a look at those spreadsheets. As I stated before, the very first spreadsheet that you will see is the profile, the tab for the profile spreadsheet. The profile, this is again, this tab includes the overall accountability score, your overall color rating, your federal classification, be it CSI, the year identified, the indicator score, and the rating. You will have your very low or your very high rating here. This profile tab has all of the aggregate information on one page. This tab is where you will find the overall score, as well as your federal classification, as we said. If there is a TSI rating, it will be listed here, as well as at that point, if you have a federal classification of TSI, then you will see the next tab. So let's take a look at what your next tab will be. And just for clarification, if you do not have any schools that were designated for a TSI rating, you will not, this particular spreadsheet would be empty. This is only if you have a school that has the federal designation of TSI. And you would also have that demographic group for how you actually receive that rating. So you will have, again, the demographic group will be the student group that would be identified here, as well as the classification of TSI, as well as the year that was identified. The next several tabs are going to be your indicator. These, the next few spreadsheets, you'll be able to see all of how you performed on those different indicators. So the first one will be the state assessment results in reading and mathematics. This tab includes aggregate information scores, performance level, for the state assessment results in reading and mathematics, and your demographic group, and if there were any federal classifications identified here. And as you can see here, you can see on column I through R, you'll have it broken down for reading, math, and then you'll see the NAPD for those, as well as the index score for those. The next tab is the accountability summary tab for state assessment results in science, social studies, and writing. And very similar to the other one. So it will be all of those, the science, social studies, and writing is the combined to give you the index score for this particular indicator. So what we want you to note here is for the writing component of it. Keep in mind that the writing is going to be the combination of two criteria. So you'll have the editing mechanics as well as the on-demand writing. And those two will combine to give you your overall writing score. And we want you to note there are no aggregation of editing and mechanics and on-demand writing scores for the school. The writing component of the state assessment results for science, social studies, and writing indicator uses the combined uses the combined writing performance level to determine that score. The next tab or the next spreadsheet that you will have is the EL or English Language Learner Proficiency tab. And this tab includes the aggregate English learner progress indicator scores. This has the percentages of earned point values from the EL growth value table and the federal classification. You will see that you will be able to see the percentage of students that received that 0 versus students who received 100. The next tab is the Quality of School Climate and Safety tab. This tab includes the survey results. So what we want you to notice here, this is a little different. So you will get the Quality of School Climate and Safety uses two constructs. So you will have the climate as well as the safety. The results provided for each construct and the overall indicator rater. There, the survey, as you know, measures students' perception in those two constructs. The next tab is the post-secondary readiness. This tab includes aggregate post-secondary indicator scores and accounts for the academic career readiness, as well as any bonus points that the school would receive as a result of students meeting readiness in those high demand areas. So you would see this here, as well as if there were any federal classification because students did not for each student demographic group. And the graduation tab is one that has been around for quite some time. Very little has changed in terms of the graduation rate. We will have the 4 and 5 year graduation rate of 4 and 5 year cohort for graduation. You will see, and you'll have your numerator as well as your denominator of students who graduated in 4 or 5 years with a regular high school diploma. You have 4 or 5 year denominator numbers in students who entered high school 4 or 5 years earlier, adjusting for students who transfer out or immigrate, as well as students, deceased students. And then you will see the average of the two cohorts to get your percentage. The next tab that we have here for you is the NAPD by level. And this spreadsheet contains, again, your aggregate data by levels, your novice, apprentice, proficient, and distinguished performance percentages for 100-day students that are reported by demographic groups for the districts and all schools in all content area, which were assessed in the elementary, middle, and high. So again, this is where you would really pay close attention for this. This NAPD by level will also have information if it was necessary to suppress any data. And to keep in mind, you would have to review the suppression rules. The purpose of suppression is to basically ensure that no student is identifiable based on the data. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the suppression rule. We've kind of gone through this in great depth previously, but just as a reminder, this is where you would see this data would be suppressed if needed. So suppression is the limitation, again, of the information that will be publicly reported to protect students' privacy due to FERPA. Best reporting practices, however, this does not impact the inclusion of data into your accountability. In some cases, the end count is met for the indicator, but student performance level may be suppressed for public reporting. The next folder that's going to be important for you on QC Day is the student data folder. So within that, there will be a number of other subfolders, but the ones that we want you to pay really close attention to is the graduate listing. There'll be the post-secondary readiness, as well as the test. And we're going to go through each of those as we did with the ones that were in the accountability folder. So let's start with the graduate student listing folder. So this is the individual student and the cohort for that particular folder. So you'll be able to see all of the information for all of your students, all the graduate information for your students. So in the next subfolder is the post-secondary readiness. The post-secondary readiness spreadsheet will have how all of the students that met the post-secondary readiness, you'll have the listing of all of that information there. You will see whether or not it was academic readiness, career readiness, the ones that actually met with the bonus. You'll have the alternate assessment, so you'll have information about the TAR that will be listed here, as well as all of your student demographic group. So you'll see all of that information in the post-secondary readiness. So you'll see the non-participation, all of that information will be here. So you'll be able to identify all of that. So then the next folder that you will have access to will be your test. So the test will show all of the content tests. So you will see everything for all of this science, social studies, reading, and math, as well as students who actually took the AP exams. You'll see all of that information here. So that'll be very important for you to pay very close attention to here. There will also be information here where if indeed there was an if you had a allegation, you will also see if data has been changed as a result of an allegation. So the DAX will have an opportunity to actually go here in this student listing tab. So it's going to be really important for you to really take a really close look at this student listing, because if there's an allegation, it will be here. Keep in mind that at this particular time, some of the allegations may not have been completely reviewed or resolved. So that they may change. It may actually change. So if there's an allegation that's pending, that may impact your overall accountability. And again, you can see everything from your all of your content tests, whether or not you had an allegation. The next tab that we want you to actually look at is your information for your students, for your EL students. So we will have the information from the students who took the access test. You'll be able to see all of the information for their growth, how they performed this year, and all of the composite scores will be here as well. And again, the allegation, if there were allegations here, you would actually have that listed on this particular tab as well. So again, this is how our EL population performed. So in terms of the accessed additional information you will need to pay attention to in terms of the access information, just as with the other student listing information, if you have allegations that are pending or allegations, this could impact your accountability. So this allows the DAX to identify if a score has been changed due to an allegation. You will see that in column N on this particular spreadsheet. This allows DAX to quickly notice the issues at the school, notify this not. Keep in mind, as I said before, not all allegations have been processed. There is a possibility that additional scores could be changed which could impact reporting. So summary of preliminary day QC data in the KDE Secure Web app. So you'll see school as well as districts will receive the accountability summary, including status for the indicator scores, your overall accountability scores, your overall performance ratings, and your federal classification. You'll also see the indicator scores for all of the indicators. for reading, the state assessment results in reading and mathematics. That'll be at the elementary, middle, and high, as well as for state assessments results in science, social studies, and writing. Again, the writing will be the combined writing scores for editing mechanics and on demand. You'll also see your English learner progress rating. That will be at the elementary and middle school, as well as the quality of school climate and safety. This also will be at the elementary, middle, and high school. So all of those indicators will have that. Now, at the high school, in addition, you will get your post-secondary readiness as well as the graduation rate. You will see your student listing. You will also see your graduation in terms of cohorts, your 4- and 5-year cohorts. You'll see your English learner data, quality of school climate and safety, post-secondary readiness, as well as your performance level for your NAPD. Some additional resources that you will receive on QC Day is you'll be able to see an accountability calculator. And again, this is one of those optional folders that you will be receiving that you'll have access to. And this will allow you to just basically use it to provide to schools and districts a way to calculate and estimate your performance on given on each indicator. This is a tool that will pre-populate the indicator and the component value. District and school staff can use it for various scenarios to basically determine how you're doing on the accountability. This is this calculator is an estimation, again, because again, all of this data at this time is preliminary. There are a number of factors that could impact this. Again, we're looking for those systemic issues, those big issues that could change all of that. So the calculator can be used as an estimation of what you would receive on QC Day, or what you're at that time, because that's all we have at that time, because again, things could change. And it can be assessed with other QC data spreadsheet folders. And this again is not required for QC Day. It's just one of those resources that will be available if you want to utilize it. Some additional resources to assist you with QC Day is some of the trainings that we've created. There will be another training, accountability overview training, that will be available for you as well. We're planning to release an additional training to help you prepare for this. Then there are those back to school trainings that are already available. You might want to go back and review those presentations and the recordings. You will have, we're hoping to have the approval for our KSA and AKSA cut scores. That information we hope to have available for you as well. The accountability standard setting cut scores and thresholds, that will be hopefully available on QC Day. As Jennifer said, there are a number of things that still need to happen that hopefully we'll have available by QC Day. And then your understanding of the Kentucky minimum N for school accountability. A lot of the accountability is all of our accountability is based on that minimum N. Then you will also have online data quality control day, the back and deck recording, the video recording and PowerPoint presentation. So some of the procedures that you need to ensure that you follow on QC Day. So there is a QC Day checklist and data discrepancy report. That QC Day checklist, you'll have to complete that. So there are key steps along the way that will allow us to know that you've gone through and looked at your data. You'll complete the QC Day checklist online, and then you will submit it online as well. And that lets us know that you've completed your review. That is the way that we will be able to determine whether or not you have actually gone through all of those steps. You'll have the data discrepancy report. So say you find something, those big systemic issues, that's the way you will be able to report to us that say all of your, for instance, if you in review of your data and you notice that all of your students with disabilities are missing, or those are not your students, that data discrepancy report is how you report that to us. That will impact not just your district, but it could possibly impact other districts as well. So that's going to be really important for you to complete that data discrepancy report. Do not submit students' specific issues. Those may be addressed during that 10-day regulatory data review, and that's after the public release. And you will have links for both that discrepancy report as well as the QC Day checklist on QC Day, as well as the password to get into those. Some additional procedures. We've talked, you will not, just it's so important that we've sent out some notification, but in order to review the data, you have to, it's a must that you actually submit the QC Day non-disclosure. We have to have that on file before you will be able to see your data. If there are additional, as Jennifer stated in her part of this presentation, she said, if you have other additional staff that will be reviewing it, you need to have them sign off on, download a copy, have them sign off on it, and then you maintain those copies on file. But for our DACs, in order for you to review the data, we will not even release it unless we have your non-disclosure information. And the deadline for doing that is quickly approaching. So that's by Wednesday, September 21st. We need to have that on file, or you will not be able to access your district data. You probably should look at gathering all your SDRR data from a fall review. You will need to see any changes, any of those tickets that were resolved, those transfer listing, the student listing, all of that information, you probably need to have that on hand as you prepare for QC Day, because again, this is an opportunity to ensure that the data that we produced in the public is actually accurate. So you need to have all of those resources with you as well. You want to review the accountability data spreadsheet. Following the steps in the QC Day checklist, you want to ensure that you've gone through all of that. You've gone through each one of those procedures. And then in terms of communicating all of those big systemic issues, you will utilize that data discrepancy report to communicate that information quickly and accurately. We are asking that all of this be done. We'll start early in the morning, but we're asking that you have completed the QC Day checklist, as well as if there was any discrepancies that you found by 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So how do you communicate with OAA on QC Day? The key to district communication during QC Day is completing and submitting the data discrepancy sheet, as well as the QC Day checklist. We're going to have staff, all of our staff will be on hand that day. So we will have you broken down to who you can contact with. You can also reach out through the KDE assessment at education.ky.gov. So if you have some general questions, say you're going through and you just not sure about a couple of things, you just want to verify that what you're seeing is accurate. If you have some discrepancy, you just kind of need to talk through, you're not sure about some things. We also have all of our staff will be available during that time. As you can see here, you'll see your personal QC Day contact. So for all of the districts, You will have, we have our data staff as well as our communication staff will be available, and their contact information is listed here. What you'll need to do is identify your district and where you'll be, and which consultants, which staff is available for you to reach out to, as well as our phone numbers. So you will use those phone numbers to contact those particular staff, and they will transfer. You will be transferred accordingly. So on behalf of the Office of Assessments and Accountability and the Kentucky Department of Education, we want to thank you for your time and all of your hard work and everything that you do for the students of Kentucky. So we hope that you have a good year, and do not hesitate to reach out to us if you need us. Thank you.